I grew up in a house where my dad was a part-time worship leader and my mom taught Sunday school. It was just a part of our life. I was training to be a speech pathologist. That was what I was going to do with my life. I visited the seminary and met a student there named John Gibson, and he and I started writing back and forth. He lived in New Orleans, I lived in Texas, and eventually fell in love with him, and I was called to be his wife. And then shortly after we married, he was called to be the pastor of a little country church. And he was a professor by this time. I loved being a pastor's wife. I loved being a seminary professor's wife. I loved what I was getting to do in ministry. I would say early in my marriage, I knew that there was something that was not quite right. But we had been married 10 years when I first discovered something that led me to realize that he was looking at pornography, that he was holding a part of himself back, and that there were lies and things that I didn't know. That first discovery of a lie was absolutely devastating. And we were married for another 20 years after that first discovery. You know that there were many moments that I discovered other things that were going on. And every time I would go to him with it, and he would give me a plausible explanation. And I would not quite believe him, but I would not want to push.
It was just 6 days after hackers exposed the names of millions signed up for Ashley Madison, a website for people seeking affairs.
I remember seeing an advertisement, "Life is short, have an affair." I was like, that sounds intriguing.
These hackers released 9.7 gigabytes of data online, with the data breach including names, phone numbers, email addresses, and usernames and passwords for some 36 million accounts.
It came to a point where they released millions of names, and John's name was one of those names. The seminary had gotten word that John's name was on the list. He was very remorseful. He wept. He said, "I know you need my resignation." And he gave them his resignation. And they asked him what he was going to do next. And he said, "I'm going to go call Christy." And he didn't. He went home and he took his life. John's story is Ashley Madison, unfaithfulness. His name was on a list, and that list became known to the whole world. And we look at something like that, and our tendency is to say, well, that's not me. I've never done anything that bad, or I've never had anything that bad done to me. The thing is, it's all a list. There's a list there that recounts our sin, a list of hating, lying, arrogance, gossip, whatever the list is. All of us have our name on a list because all of us are sinners. When it came down to needing to forgive John, I had a myriad of things to forgive. God in his graciousness never makes us do it all at once. I am still forgiving John. Our forgiving others is so important to our Savior, who loves us so much. He forgives us, and it is a natural response to that forgiveness is to forgive others.